Okay, so as you can possibly notice, I am interviewing Disa. So our first question is going to be, what did you wear to the party?
So I decided to, as being astronomy professor, I was like, oh, it's a blue moon and it's a full moon. Let me like don a moon outfit. So I went with that, not really expecting anything come out of it. But yeah,
Yeah, it was definitely very interesting. I remember seeing it. And then I think you wanted to do a costume change somewhere. I don't know.
one, I not necessarily a costume change, but I just put it out there that I would be willing if somebody wanted to, just because all of a sudden a moon just became something dangerous. So I was like, hey, I don't mind switching, but I guess nobody wanted to be put in that situation. So I was like, all right, I'll deal with it.
Okay, so what did you witness, if anything?
um, yeah, so basically I came in and then there was already like party had already started, people were dancing. Something was like happening, like people were um like there were like whispers going around that something was a little bit odd. And then it was just like the next part was just like really like it just happened really quickly. Like first there was like a plant flying, and then somebody seemed to be like wanting to like hide behind other people, and then there was like somebody who was like in a disguise, or no, sorry, a disguise or like just being concealed by a hood or such. And then I tried to like, I realized that like, hey, there might be an intruder who might possibly not be human right now. And so I was like to myself that, hey, maybe I should be covered up just so that my costume doesn't have an effect that shouldn't be there. Um, and so I tried approaching a couple of people, going like, "Hey, maybe I should hide behind you, just not just for my safety but for the safety of everybody around." And most people weren't too willing for that, so then I just sort of tried to do what I could, and then all of a sudden I think it was Dragon who started hiding behind me, and I was like, I don't know why anybody would be hiding behind me, because like like my costume is the worst costume to hide behind if you don't want to be seen by somebody.
Hmm.
And then I guess like lo and behold, my costume wasn't as effective as I sort of expected, which ended up being a very good thing, because apparently there was a werewolf on the loose, aka Greyback, who had escaped. And so, although I guess at this point he was still fairly human, or as human as Greyback could be. And then, so then I guess he assumed that my costume was just a plate and not a moon, which I am very happy about, because if he did think it was a moon, things might have ended differently, and different like bad different. And then yeah, so then Dragon just had to hide behind me, which I believe was a terrible move on her part, but I guess she did it. And then Greyback assumes I'm a plate, but then still ends up sort of stumbling because of like my more like round shape. And then, but he's still after Dragon at this point, and I assume it's because of how she was bit before by Kfish. Um, and so she's like trying to cover and try to stay away from him, but he sort of knows that she's there. And then they sort of like, sorry, Fenrir sort of like starts to lunge at Dragon. And then there's like, they get caught up in some drapes. And because they're drapes, it like, it opens the window, which is an actual moon. And that moon then causes Greyback to transform fully. And then at this point, I started realizing that, hey, maybe I should start doing something to actually help these students now, because of being deputy. And at this point, it was also the Aurors and the head of DMLE, magical law enforcement, including you, who jumped into action to try to control the situation, which was excellent. Great job, DMLE. Thank you. Um, and then, yeah, so I guess Greyback did end up grabbing onto Dragon. I don't know exactly where, but that happened. And then somewhere in between, she got bit, but other people tried to help her. But I think um, law enforcement was more sort of like, hey, like, let us handle it, because if other people handle it, that might not go well. And we're like trained professionals. And so it was like Naomi, you, Eri Song, as well as Morgan, who jumped into action, tried to clear things off, and especially the students who are younger and definitely would need more protection. So then they were told to go back to their common rooms to get to a safe place, and the rest of alumni um, go. So I sort of went with the students, and yeah, sort of let you guys handle it from there, and yeah.
uh, ex- it, yeah, excellent description, because I think you did a little bit better than me whenever I described what happened.
I I tried to like get all the details, although there was only certain parts that I could um recall.
hmm
Yeah.
So, who do you think should be held responsible for everything that happened?
um so so technically it should be Greyback, but the like something like I always think of like more like upstream factors, so not just Greyback being there, but sort of like why he was there in the first place. Like I know he was put in a holding cell, so what caused him to get out? And so I think that sort of ends up leading up to the security that's in Azkaban of why that was sort of like, because if he hadn't gotten out, none of this would have happened. So I think
hmm
definitely something related to the security in Azkaban.
Yeah, that makes sense. So what safe house did you go to if you went to one, and what was it like?
I didn't go to a safe house. I went back to the castle, and I was just checking in with the prefects and to make sure that everything was all good and all the students were accounted for. And then, so it was the prefects and whichever head of house was around to be there, and sort of just checked in with them. And then I briefly came back because I realized one of the students had been left behind. So came back, secured her, who was Isabella, and then went back. And so not a safe house, just back to Hogwarts. And yeah, then just sort of tried to make sure everything was fine there. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Oh, all right. Well, thank you for answering my questions.
No problem. It was great. I'm really excited to see how this would turn out.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be interesting to try and edit together.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I've never been part of like, I listen to a ton of podcasts and stuff, so I know like the whole process of like, not the whole process, but sort of like the end product of what it seems like. But this is my first time being part of and it like things in between, so I'm really excited.
Yeah, I'm really excited too.
Thank you for interviewing, and I'll definitely keep an eye out for when this gets released.
All right, thank you.
No problem.